Welcome to the Giving Nook, where nonprofit leaders, fundraisers, foundations, and philanthropists come to talk all things giving and impact.
We're your guest hosts. I'm Katie Lord.
And I'm Chris Stibbs.
Your nonprofit powerhouses, fundraising strategists, and your go-to guides for tips, tricks, and real talk about what it actually takes to create meaningful change in the sector.
Between the two of us, we've worked across every corner of the sector, from throwing top-notch events to building donor relationships that last. And now we're pulling back the curtain to share what we've learned.
Whether you're in the fundraising trenches, leading a nonprofit, or just curious about how to give more intentionally, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
In 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, friends.
Hey, we're so happy to have you back with us. Today, we're going to be talking about, I think one of our favorite topics is donor stewardship and donor experience.
Dun, dun, dun.
So I have a 7-year-old at home, and I always think of experience as like, how can I be the Disney World to my donors? Like you walk into Disney and it's like you see it and you touch it and you feel it and you're just like, oh my gosh, I'll do anything, take my money. And I want my donors to feel that way. And then at the end, I want them to feel like that was an awesome experience. But I still think it's something that as a sector, we struggle with. Why?
I mean, how many times have you made a donation somewhere and not even gotten a letter or a thank you call?
Oh gosh, too many to count.
Yeah.
Too many to count. And it's so disappointing at that point. It's like, okay, did you get my check? Was it not enough? Was it not what you were hoping for? And so to feel that way, it's like, I definitely don't want my donors to feel that way, but I know sometimes we do that. So like, to me though, I would say the thing that is the number one takeaway, I guess, for me is like, we need to do the platinum rule for our donors. Mm-hmm. Don't treat them how you want to be treated. Treat them how they want to be treated. I think that is so key. It's easy to send a mass thank you, but did it really hit?
Exactly. And how are you segmenting your stewardship?
Yes.
How are you getting different pieces of stewardship to different people?
Well, I think, the number one way that we can do that, of course, is through having those relationships and conversations and asking people, how do you want to be recognized? Although here's my favorite thing is when a donor says, oh, I don't give for the recognition. Well, I know you don't give for the recognition, but I'm
still going to thank you and recognize you.
So it's not necessarily recognition. It's just gratitude. So how, as a sector, can we show gratitude to our donors? The one thing I will say, though, that goes back to kind of like that platinum rule is personalization. I think personalization in stewardship it's not necessary. It's a necessity, right? Like, it is something that we have to do. And I think the only way we can do that is through meaningful conversations throughout the process.
And if your thank you letter says, dear friend, at the beginning of it, please, I am begging you, change that to the donor's first name.
Oh, that's file 13 for me.
Yeah,
I
that's
open
like
it up
the
as
first
dear
step.
friend.
First step. And here's the thing. We have both been in fundraising positions where we know we are balancing 32 plates in the air. And it's hard. Like, you're prioritizing things, and stewardship needs to be prioritized. It has to be there because it is a part of the donor life cycle. It is the way to engage people and make them feel important and make them feel like they need to give again.
Exactly. And I think, again, sometimes I think it's important to tie the gift back to the mission. Like, I think that that's something we can all say, I can do better at thanking someone and tying it back to the mission. But I also think it's important that we realize that it doesn't always have to just be a plaque or a t-shirt or a blanket. Like, I know I hate getting those. Like, I have nightmares of like getting the blanket. I'm like, please don't give me the blanket. But some people like that. Yeah. So tell me more about that segmentation, Chris, because I know sometimes I'm like, I don't want the blanket, but somebody does. How do you find that out?
Yeah, I think part of it is through conversation, learning like how people want to be reached out to. For me, it's like, please don't send me another email. I would love for you to just text me. Text me like how I support it. And actually, I do sometimes like phone calls. I know I'm a little out of the norm.
You're not,
on
though.
that.
I love phone calls. Okay. So I work at Big Brothers now, but a while ago I was a donor to Big Brothers and I saved it because I got a call from a little and it was like amazing. Like I
Yeah.
saved it on my phone forever because I was like, oh my gosh, this is like, I'm going to cry. Like this was so good. Phone's not dead. Now, granted, I'm not picking up that phone call. I don't know who that number is.
Right. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like getting that message meant so much. I think you're onto something there.
You know, and one of the takeaways that I have and that I'm continuously trying to work on, for those who know me, I am not the most detail-oriented person, is creating consistency. And one of the things we're doing is always building a stewardship calendar. So we know that if a donor gives $100, XYZ steps are going to be taken in place to make sure that they're recognized, that they're thanked, that they understand how their gift is making an impact, and mapping that out with who's in charge of it and how it's going to be executed and when it's going to be executed so that there are an adequate number of touch points for the donor to, again, instate like why it's so important to support and how their gift is making a difference. So my takeaway is build that stewardship calendar. And if it's simply just we want them to get a thank you call within 72 hours and we want them to get their thank you letter within a week, like start there. Start there. There's 2 touch points right there. And that's better than what some agencies are providing. And we've all been there where we have dropped the ball on stewardship. Like this is as much as we sound a little judgy sometimes, is a judgment-free podcast. All of the things that we are criticizing are things that we have done. Like, and so just, you know, sometimes I think we feel like we have to like, here is our 15-step stewardship plan for this donor. And it's like, start basic, start simple.
Just make sure they get a thank you letter
Yeah.
first and foremost. I mean,
Exactly.
that's not a thask. Don't thask. Do not
Yes.
thank you and ask.
Yes.
No. Please don't do that. If you do that to me, I'm just like, oh, now I'm going to hold out a little bit longer and see
Right.
how long it takes you to just say genuinely thank you.
Yeah.
Another takeaway for me that I will say as somebody, and I know Chris, you do too, is as somebody who controls a budget, I put a part of my budget aside strictly for stewardship. And it's not the thank you notes, it is that extra special stewardship. So, like, for example, and if they're listening, they're going to know who they are. I have a friend who is also a donor. And she and I have this love for Stanley Tucci. Okay, like we
heard about this.
we love Stanley Tucci, right? So when the new Stanley Tucci book came out, like I was gonna buy myself a copy, so I just picked her up a copy too, right? That's something that I think we can all do. Is it's not the big presentations. It's, hey, I know we share this love, and I wanted to show my appreciation for you in a way that I know you will appreciate. So what's something like that you've done, Chris? Like I always think those are fun stories. Like I love hearing that.
So it's funny you mentioned that because you were like my inspiration behind starting to budget for these things. So I love that, creating a budget. This pairs back to our events session that we did that came out, and building that relationship. We have a person who has served on the committee for 4 years for the gala. She has been such an instrumental part of the design and experience, and she became the new managing partner for her company. And we sent her flowers just saying, congratulations on this role. You are going to do amazing things. Like, thank you for all that you do for our community. And she so appreciated it. And it's those little touch points of like, we see you and we support you. And thank you for the ways that you make a difference.
That's such a good point, Chris. I have to go off of that again. Is like as part of our budget, like if one of our donors, receives an award or is out in the community doing something else, we want to celebrate that, guys. Like I think sometimes, I don't like to believe that we are in competition. I mean, at the end of the day, there are only so many dollars. But if somebody is like cheering your gala and they're a friend, like I want to be like, heck yeah, go you. I'll call you when you're done.
Right.
But, but like celebrating those things, I think are so important for our donors. Like the one thing I will say that I love that we do is anytime someone has a baby, they get a Big Brothers Big Sisters baby onesie. And I absolutely love getting those photos back on Instagram and things and seeing that, because it's like, you are part of the Big Brothers Big Sisters family. And we want to welcome your newest member into our family. And so, again, I think sometimes in nonprofits, it doesn't have to be the big actions either. It doesn't have to be the big stewardship moments. It's the little quiet ones, too, of sending the onesie, of taking a picture together and posting it, or celebrating someone else's win, that are so important to remember, as that is all part of stewardship, even though that maybe doesn't tie back directly to your agency.
A takeaway that that really plays, like the onesie falls right into this, is how are we thinking outside of the box when it comes to stewardship? Like, what are we doing that's unique? I was at a conference many moons ago, and I was talking with a woman who worked at a different domestic violence shelter in a different state. And one of the things they did was they took a coffee table book that was blank, and they set it on the common table in the lounge space, and they invited survivors to write a little message of what that shelter meant to them. And of course, sign the release waiver and all that to use it. But they then photocopied it and they attached it to every thank you letter that went out. These different messages of what that agency meant to them. And like, I just gave myself chills, thinking about it. But that is literally a free way to show impact and show like how that gift makes a difference in the lives of literally this person who wrote this handwritten message. So how do we think outside the box?
I love that. I think it's so important, again, like we said, that it's like, yes, we put that budget aside, but also some things just don't cost, and it's just taking the time. Something else that I think we don't think of in stewardship is inviting our donors to experience the mission, right? Kind of have that behind the scenes look of what it is like to actually be a big, or to come to one of our events, or to we do some events where we celebrate the parents. So it's like or we do a huge graduation party. It's like inviting people into some of those special moments and asking them to be part of the experience of celebrating the accomplishments, because they've made that possible.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. Like, getting people into your space and into your events. And for some nonprofits, like, it's a little tougher to do like a tour because they may not have the space to do that. But how are you creating your own unique tour experience? And maybe that's just a meeting with the donor where you take them on a virtual tour or a virtual visit. And part of that is through the storytelling, which we'll talk about in a later segment. But just creating, you're right, that experience.
So something that we do at our team, and this again goes back to something we talked about earlier, which is accountability on your team. So at our team meetings, because obviously, Disney is huge at my house right now, we call it magical moments. And it's like, what is a magical moment that you have done for a donor every week? So that's 52 magical moments that you are accountable for within the calendar year, that is above and beyond what the stewardship plan is. That is, that might take you, 5 to 10 minutes. It might be picking up somebody. I mean, it could be as simple as crumble cookies. I will say we are big fans of puns. And, like, we'd crumble without you. I mean, you can have a lot of fun with this, guys, if you're punny. So.
Yeah. I love it. It means stuff. Like, it means a lot to the donor when we take the time to recognize them.
So an old boss of mine used to say that all we do in the nonprofit sector is write thank you notes. And to a degree, I agree with that. But I keep those thank you notes. Like, I think people keep those thank you notes. And I can tell you how many times I've been over to someone's office and seen the thank you note that I have written them, and that it does matter. Yeah. So kind of in circling back, I mean, we think it's really important for you to put a budget aside for stewardship. It is an investment in the organization and just relationships. So please put together a budget and also make sure to personalize everything that you do. No dear friends, no dear friend letters. Everything needs to be personalized. It's not necessary. It's a necessity.
Yeah. Create a consistent stewardship calendar that you can go back and look at, that you're consistently reviewing and editing and tweaking and making sure that you're looking at it. Just like the great development plan, do not create it and put it on the shelf and never open it back up. Build it out and ensure that you're following it.
And celebrate stewardship moments on your team. Make sure that you are highlighting excellent examples of stewardship. So, again, we talk about that culture of philanthropy and gratitude. The way you can live that is by holding your team accountable to that as well.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the Giving Nook. I hope today's conversation gave you something, whether it's a fresh idea, a new perspective, or just a little more confidence in your fundraising journey. If you're loving what we're giving, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And if you're feeling generous, a quick review helps more people like you find us. Want to keep the conversation going? Connect with me on LinkedIn or visit thephilanthropyplace.com, where I share fresh fundraising insights every other week. Here's to fundraising that feels good, works smarter, and changes lives. See you next time in the Giving Nook.